You believe you think with words, but the ancient ones said otherwise. Thoth, the keeper of the primordial language, wrote that the greatest illusion of the human mind is simple. The tongue speaks before the eye sees. And tonight, you will finally witness this inside your own perception, not as a theory, not as a metaphor, but as a direct experience. Before we enter this path, remember what Thoth warned the initiates. The one who crosses this threshold never returns to the same self. If your chest feels heavy right now, if something in you resists, that is the sign. It means your old identity is already shifting. Let us begin. You believe your inner voice belongs to you, but observe carefully. It appears without your permission. It labels without your awareness. It comments before you perceive. It interrupts you constantly. It names your world faster than your eyes can see it. There is something inside you speaking before you do. Thoth called this the unseen tongue. Say a force that moves ahead of perception, a force that shapes the world before awareness arrives, a force that chooses the meaning before you experience the moment. And for the first time, you will feel this mechanism operating within you. Do not prepare. Do not anticipate. Just be present. Ready? Serpent. There it is. Before you noticed anything, your mind reacted. Images rose, instinct rose, myth rose, fear or fascination rose, old cultural shadows rose, all in less than a heartbeat. This is what Thoth meant. The name outruns the seeing. You did not see the serpent, you saw the word first. You saw the meaning you inherited. You saw the reflex installed inside you long before you had a choice. And what comes next is even deeper. You do not think inside a vacuum. You think inside a linguistic field. Language is not a tool you use. It is a habitat your mind was born into, a structure older than your identity. A set of invisible laws that shape how you see, feel, name, categorize, judge, interpret, remember, connect, and perceive reality itself. Thoth wrote, "The one who thinks he commands words is already commanded by them." You don't build language. Language builds you. Let us go deeper. Every language behaves like a living organism. It needs a host, your mind. It consumes resources, your attention, your emotions, your energy. It alters behavior, how you respond, who you think you are. It replicates. You pass it to others without noticing. That's the definition of a parasitic structure. Thoth never used the term parasite, but what he described matches perfectly what modern cognitive science calls a self-replicating conceptual organism. Words survive by shaping the one who carries them. They reshape your perception before you experience anything directly. They fill your subconscious with patterns that feel like your thoughts. They alter your sense of self. They create the categories through which you interpret everything. And now comes the part few dare to look at. Count how many thoughts rise in a day. 60,000? 80,000? But how many are genuinely yours? You will notice something. Most of your thoughts are not new. They are repetitions, echoes, leftover fragments from years of conditioning, voices from childhood, expectations of parents, labels from school, definitions from religion, memories of pain, cultural metaphors, internalized judgments, fears passed down through generations. Thoth said, "The human speaks with voices older than his bones." This is the truth. You do not think. You inherit thinking. Identity is not something you consciously built. Identity is linguistic conditioning wearing your face. And now we go deeper. If someone called you shy, you built behavior around that word long before you understood it. If someone called you too emotional, you learned to doubt your own feelings. If someone called you smart, you learned to fear mistakes because the label became a cage. If someone called you broken, your mind built a universe around that idea. Names did not describe you. Names constructed you. And Thoth whispered, "The name becomes the chamber in which the soul confines itself. A chamber with no visible walls, only words." What you're discovering now is that your personality is not your essence. It is your linguistic inheritance. You have never met your true self. You have only met your labels. But we go deeper still. Look at someone you love. Just imagine their presence for a moment. Now notice something. Their name appears before their essence. The label arrives before the person. The concept rises before the perception. The memory overlays the reality. This is why Thoth wrote, "The shadow of the name stands between the eyes and the real." You do not see the world. You see your dictionary's version of the world. And now comes one of the most important realizations of the path. You have never seen anything without naming it first. Never a tree, never a sky, never a sound, never a feeling, never a moment, never a person, never yourself. This is why the ancient temples trained initiates to perceive without naming, because naming traps the infinite inside an inherited category. Now, you are ready for the next step. Look around you. Find the nearest object. Anything. A hand, a cup, a light, a wall. Got it? Now, for 3 seconds, refuse to name it. Not resist it, not suppress it, just refuse to reach for the word. Ready? Do you feel it? That mental pressure, that strange discomfort, that tiny panic, that urge to grab the word? That is the structure Thoth warned about. This is the moment the inner narrator reveals itself. This is what Thoth called the trembling before the real. Because without the word, you become present. And presence is overwhelming for a mind that has always lived behind labels. You just touched the raw world for the first time. But there is something even deeper. Think of the most real moment of your life. A birth, a loss, a terror, a revelation, a miracle, a collapse, a beginning or ending that shattered everything. In those moments, there were no words. The inner narrator, the one who always speaks before you, fell silent. Reality broke through, and language returned only later, trying to shrink the moment into something small enough to understand. But reality will never fit into the box of a word. Thoth said, "Where the real enters, language dies." And you felt that truth. Now we are ready to enter the second chamber, the collapse of the narrator. You are now inside the second chamber, the place where the voice inside you begins to unravel. Most people never cross this threshold. Not because it is difficult, but because it is too honest. The first chamber shows you the parasite, the second shows you the host. And here, Thoth whispered to the initiates, "The one who hears the voice believes the voice is his." But once you question the voice, once you see how quickly it moves, once you witness how it names before you perceive, the illusion fractures. You begin to realize something ancient. You are not the speaker. You are the witness. And this is where your old identity begins to crack. Let us go deeper into this phenomenon. Speak inside your mind. I am thinking. Notice the structure of the sentence. It implies ownership, agency, control. Now change the sentence. A thought is happening. Something shifts. The ego steps back. The voice loses authority. The thought becomes an event, not a command. Try the third version. A voice is speaking. Feel the weight of that. Because when you say this, a subtle truth reveals itself. The voice speaks on its own. It rises uninvited. It changes without your approval. It comments without your desire. It critiques without your consent. It narrates without your request. You are the listener, not the creator. And Thoth said, the listener is older than the speech. If the listener is older, then the voice cannot be you. And this realization opens a fissure in the mind, a fissure that leads to the next revelation. Your identity, the one you defend, protect, explain, justify, is not your essence. It is a collection of labels woven from the linguistic fabric of your upbringing. Shy, funny, smart, weak, strong, broken, gifted, too much, not enough. These are not truths. They are linguistic tattoos, words burned into the subconscious until they become indistinguishable from personality. And personality becomes mistaken for self. But the self shaped by labels is only a shadow of the true one. Thoth wrote in a lost fragment, reconstructed from temple tradition, "The soul is not the name it carries, it is the space beneath all names. Identity is the cage built by language. Essence is what you find when the cage dissolves." Let me show you how deep this runs. Imagine a time someone described you with a word that felt wrong, limiting, small, insulting, or simply too simple to hold the truth of you. Maybe they called you lazy, crazy, difficult, emotional, cold, dramatic, anxious, slow, too sensitive, or too quiet. Now watch what happens in your body when you recall that word. Your chest tightens. Your throat contracts. Your breath shifts. A memory awakens. A reaction rises. This is the body responding to a linguistic wound. Thoth wrote, "Words carve the flesh of the unseen body." The unseen body is the psyche. The imprint of the word lives there. But now watch something even more subtle. Part of you still defends the label. Even labels you hate feel strangely familiar, safe, known, because the mind clings to identity even when identity hurts. This is why Thoth warned, the cage becomes the home. And freeing yourself from the cage requires more than understanding. It requires seeing what maintains it. Every language divides the world differently. Some have no word for time. Some have dozens of words for snow. Some do not distinguish green from blue. Some merge self and other into one pronoun. Some encode social hierarchy in every verb. Some treat the future as behind the speaker and the past as in front. These differences are not academic. They alter perception. Neuroscientists have found that if your language has no word for a color, you become slower or unable to see that color at all. If your language collapses many emotions into one word, you become less capable of feeling them distinctly. If your culture lacks the concept of guilt, the emotional landscape changes entirely. Thoth said it with terrifying clarity. What the tongue cannot hold, the mind cannot see. The tongue shapes the limits of the mind. It decides what is possible, what is real, what is recognizable, what is allowed, what is felt, what is ignored. And now comes the next layer. You do not think with logic. Logic is a thin surface over a deep ocean of metaphors. Your mind thinks with metaphors you did not choose. Time is money. The mind is a container. Life is a journey. Arguments are battles. Love is something you fall into. Freedom is something you earn. Success is something you chase. None of these are truths. All of them are metaphors. But these metaphors shape the emotional physics through which you interpret your existence. If time is money, you feel guilt for wasting it and anxiety about running out. If love is something you fall into, you approach intimacy as if it is a trap. If the mind is a container, you believe you can fill it or empty it. If success is something you chase, you feel behind even when you are exactly where you need to be. Thoth wrote, "Metaphor is the spell that shapes the world." And now you see why. You inherited the spell, and you mistake the spell for reality. But the next revelation is sharper. You inherited the spell before you had the power to refuse it. Let us go deeper. Think of sadness. Most assume sadness is a feeling, but sadness is not the feeling. It is the label over the feeling. Different cultures divide sadness into melancholy, nostalgia, soft sorrow, heart grief, tired sadness, quiet despair, tender sadness, cold sadness, open sadness, closed sadness. Each one is a different experience, a different texture of the soul. But in English, and in many languages, they all collapse into one word: sadness. When you say, "I am sad," you do not feel the raw sensation. You feel the concept, the cultural package, the expectations attached to the word. Thoth taught, the name hides the feeling beneath the feeling. This is why some people feel disconnected from themselves. They are not feeling their emotions. They are feeling their linguistic interpretations of emotions, and the distance between sensation and label becomes suffering. But what comes next is even more revealing. You believe you are bored with life, but boredom is not a state of the soul. It is a consequence of overnaming. When you see something for the 1,000th time, your mind whispers the category instantly: chair, tree, sky, street, car, bottle, hand, room, normal, normal, normal. But normal is the greatest illusion of all. Thoth warned, when the name is spoken too often, the world vanishes behind it. The sacred becomes invisible. The miraculous becomes ordinary. The living becomes a symbol. The breathtaking becomes familiar. Not because life is dull, but because the narrator dulls life. But you have already tasted the remedy, perception before naming. Let us deepen that experience now. Look at your hand, right now. Not as hand, not as mine, not as an object. Just look, and refuse, for a few seconds, to grab the word. Observe what rises. There is a sudden increase in clarity, details you normally overlook, a brightness, a rawness, a texture, a subtle awe. This is presence. And presence reveals something extraordinary. The world was never dull. Only your naming of it was. Thoth said, "The world is new when the tongue is still." But this next part is the deepest so far. Think of a moment that overwhelmed you, a moment so raw that language disappeared. Birth, loss, fear, revelation, beauty, love, truth, shock. In that moment, your inner narrator collapsed. Why? Porque reality was too vast to fit inside a word. Language returned only afterward to shrink the experience into a story. Thoth wrote, "The real enters in silence. Speech returns with the memory." And this is the crucial insight. The narrator does not show you the world. It shows you the story it built to replace the world. But something even more powerful is coming, because now that you can see the narrator, you are ready to dismantle it. And this path leads to the third chamber, where presence becomes stronger than language. You have crossed 2 chambers already. The first revealed the structure that speaks before you. The second exposed the identity built from that structure. And now you stand before the final gate, the one the ancient initiates called the door of the unnamed one. What lies beyond this door is not a concept, not a belief, not an understanding, but a state of perception, a state older than language, older than thought, older than identity. This is what Thoth meant when he whispered, "The one who sees before naming returns to the first sight of creation." Tonight, you will touch that sight. But first, we must finish dismantling the narrator. Most people assume they see the world directly, but perception is not direct, it is filtered. Filtered through categories you did not choose, filtered through metaphors you inherited, filtered through memories that shape your interpretation, filtered through labels that define what you believe you're looking at. This is why 2 people can witness the same event and walk away with different worlds in their minds, not because they saw different things, but because they named them differently. Thoth taught, "The tongue divides the world and calls the divisions truth." When you understand this, you begin to notice something subtle and strange. Every time you name something, you separate yourself from it. Tree, sky, stone, body, self, other. Each word is a border. Each border is a cut. Each cut reduces the unity of experience. Language is a blade that slices the infinite into manageable pieces. Useful, yes, but costly. Because the cost is intimacy with reality. Let us demonstrate this. Look at your hand again. Not as hand, not as mine. Just look at the shape, the movement, the warmth. Now slowly remove the labels. Not hand, not body, not me. Just sensation, just presence. Notice how the boundary between observer and observed begins to soften. This is what Thoth called the softening of the two. The moment before unity. The moment before the distinction collapses. And this collapse reveals a truth that few ever witness. Separation is linguistic, not existential. The world is not separate from you. Language made it appear that way, but the next revelation goes even deeper. Think of your inner narrator, the voice you have listened to your entire life. That voice has been many things: a guide, a critic, a judge, a storyteller, a protector, a saboteur, a commentator, a historian, a strategist, a worrier, a predictor. But beneath all its roles, there is one truth. The narrator never stops speaking because it is terrified of silence. Why terrified? Because silence reveals the narrator is not you. Thoth wrote, "The tongue fears stillness, for in stillness its illusion is seen. Every moment of silence is a crack in the structure of identity. Every second without naming is a door back to your original self." Let us go to that door now. Place your awareness on whatever surrounds you in this moment. The air, the objects, the sounds, the sensations, the presence. Now refuse to name anything. Do not narrate, do not categorize, do not define, just see, just feel, just be. And notice what happens. The world becomes vivid, sharper than usual, more alive, more immediate. The distance between you and reality collapses. This is the state Thoth described as The clear seeing. Seeing without the veil, seeing without the explanation, seeing without the inherited categories, seeing without the parasite, seeing reality raw. For most people, this lasts only a few seconds because the voice rushes back to reclaim its territory. But now you know how to slip beneath it. And now we reach the core. Think of all the moments in your life when language failed. Moments so profound that the narrator inside you could not find any words. The birth of a child, the death of someone you loved, a revelation, a betrayal, a miracle, a fear so sharp it froze time, a beauty so deep it overwhelmed you. In those moments, the narrator vanished. There was only presence, only perception, only truth. Thoth explained this mystery. The great moments of life are wordless because they are real. The narrator returns only afterward to shrink them into stories. But the stories are not the experience. They are the graves of the experience. And now comes the turning point. If the most real moments of your life were wordless, then the voice inside you is not the source of truth. It is the barrier to it. This is the heart of the third chamber. You believe the narrator serves you, but often you serve it. You maintain the labels, you repeat the patterns, you defend the identity, you cling to the definitions, you protect the cage. Why? Because the narrator offers certainty, comfort, predictability. But certainty is not truth, it is merely familiar. And Thoth warned, man clings to the bars of his cage because he has forgotten the open sky. So tonight, you will remember the sky. Let us reveal the final secret. The narrator is not the enemy. It is simply misplaced. It stands in front of perception when it should stand behind it. It should serve, not command. Assist, not dominate. Translate, not replace. The ancient practice was never about destroying language. It was about restoring the order of perception. Experience first, naming second, presence before narrative, truth before description. Thoth gave the initiates a ritual to achieve this, a ritual simple enough to be used daily, yet powerful enough to rewrite the relationship between mind and reality. Tonight, you will learn it. This is the final gift of the third chamber, the ritual of the silent observer. For 7 days, 3 times a day, you will perform a simple act. Refuse to name your experience for 10 seconds. If you are eating, do not say food. Feel the texture, the taste, the color of the moment without the word. If you are looking at someone, do not say person or their name or any label your mind reaches for. Simply see. If you are feeling emotion, do not say sadness or anger or joy. Just feel the raw sensation. 10 seconds. 3 times a day. 7 days. Thoth wrote, 10 seconds is enough to weaken 1,000 years of spell. Because in 10 seconds of nameless perception, the narrator loses its throne. Presence returns to its rightful place, and something extraordinary begins to happen. The cage of identity loosens. The inherited metaphors dissolve. The labels feel less solid. The emotions feel more true. The world becomes larger. Your perception becomes clearer. Your consciousness becomes sharper. Your sense of self expands beyond anything the narrator ever allowed. This is the beginning of liberation. But there is one final teaching. Thoth told the initiates, the tongue is the serpent. It sheds its skin to grow. You do not destroy the words. You transform your relationship with them. The serpent sheds its skin. You shed your names. The serpent grows into a new form. You grow into a new perception, not by force, not by belief, but by presence. You are not trying to silence the narrator forever. You are learning to place it behind perception instead of in front of it. You are learning to see before you speak. This is the essence of awakening. And now, a final revelation. The self you have known your entire life is only the echo of your language. The self beneath the echo is older, wider, lighter, more aware, and infinitely more real. Tonight, you touched that self, even if only for a moment. But moments are enough. Moments change destinies. And now we finish with the last words Thoth gave to those who reach this chamber. When you see without naming, you see what was hidden. When you hear without categorizing, you hear what was always speaking. When you feel without labeling, you feel the real. This is not theory, this is not philosophy, this is practice. And the practice begins now. Look around you. Choose 3 things. and for 3 seconds each refuse to name them. Just see, just be. This is the return to the self before words. If this truth opens something in you, write only 3 words. I see first, not for me, for you, as a seal, as a declaration, as the beginning of your awakening.